This week, we are studying about how forensics detectives figure out who wrote something. They study the handwriting and compare it to different suspects to determine if one of them may have written the document in question. They can even determine what kind of ink was used by using a process called chromatography to identify the ink. Here is an example of chromatography. This can help them figure out what pen was used to write the document. This got me thinking about the Ten Commandments. Like, who wrote the Ten Commandments? Did Moses write them or did God? We can't get the pen used to write the Ten Commandments because it was written on tablets of stone. According to Moses' account, God wrote his law on tablets of stone Moses chiseled out for him. These tablets contained his law we call the Ten Commandments. They told how to be right before God. We call this living righteously. Although Moses prepared the stone tablets, they were written with the very finger of God. We find the account in Exodus chapters 24, 31, and 32. It's almost as though Moses decided we really needed to be told exactly what happened, but every time he wrote it, he seems to have added just a little bit more to help us understand. In Exodus 24:12, we read, "There God instructed Moses, 'Come up to me into the mount, and be there, and I will give you tablets of stone, and a law, and commandments which I have written, that you may teach them.'" Also, Exodus 31:18 states that God gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of communing with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 tablets of testimony, tables of stone, written with the finger of God. And just in case we missed the significance of the fact that God wrote on these tablets, we read in Exodus 32:15 and 16, "Then Moses turned and went down the mountain with the 2 tablets of the testimony in his hands, and they were inscribed on both sides, front and back. The tablets were the work of God, and the writing was the writing of God, engraved on the tablets." This was the original 10 Commandments. But what happened to them? Can we go look at them and see what God's handwriting looks like? I'm afraid not. Sadly, we find out that they didn't last long. In fact, none of the people got to read them because when Moses came down off the mountain, he found the people worshiping a golden calf. And this was a big problem since God had just written on those tablets of stone, "You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol in the form of anything in heaven above, or on the earth below, or in the waters beneath. You shall not bow to them or worship them." Oh boy, was Moses angry. Before he could even give the people the law, they had already broken them. He was so angry that he threw the tablets down and broke them. Exodus 32:19 says, "As Moses approached the camp and saw the calf and the dancing, he burned with anger and threw the tablets out of his hand, shattering them at the base of the mountain." If it wasn't bad enough that the people broke God's very own written law, Moses shatters all of them. After all that work God did, and man just ruined it all in a matter of seconds. That kind of reminds me of what happened after God finished his creation. He said, and it was good, but man comes along and makes a split-second decision and ruins it all. But just as God promised to fix that rash decision all those many years ago, he also fixes Moses' mistake by making another copy for Moses. Exodus 34:1 says, "Then the Lord said to Moses, 'Chisel out 2 stone tablets like the original, and I will write on them the words that were on the first tablet, which you broke.'" Notice that God reminds Moses that he was the one that broke the first set of tablets. I think this is important to remember. It isn't God's fault when things go badly for me when I break his commands, for I am the one who chose to break them. So, what happened to the second set of tablets? Where did they go for safekeeping? Could we go find those? Afraid not. We find the rest of the story in Deuteronomy 10:1-5. It says, "At that time the Lord said to me, 'Chisel out 2 stone tablets like the original. Come up to me on the mountain and make an ark of wood. And I will write on the tablets the words that were on the first tablet, which you broke.'" Again, he tells them that. "And you are to place them in the ark." So I made an ark of acacia wood, chiseled out 2 stone tablets like the original, and went up the mountain with the 2 tablets in my hands. And the Lord wrote on the tablet what had been written previously, the 10 Commandments, that he had spoken to you on the mountain out of the fire on the day of the assembly. The Lord gave them to me, and I went back down the mountain and placed the tablets in the ark I had made, as the Lord had commanded, and there they have remained. The first writing of God's commandments were written on stone by God himself, and man, in his anger, broke them all. God then rewrites another copy and had Moses put this copy in the Ark of the Covenant, which was in the most holy place of the tabernacle, and this was the very place that God dwelled with his people. But now what? We no longer have the tablets or the tabernacle. Where does God dwell now? And where's the Ten Commandments? Where has God written them for us so that we may know how to live righteously? You may be thinking, well, the Bible, of course, right? Yeah, but that's just the beginning. You see, reading the Bible can direct you towards God, but its power comes upon you when you believe the words of that book, and God sends his Holy Spirit to live in you. Then God writes on a new tablet, one not of stone, but of human hearts, written not with ink, but with the Spirit of the living God. At some point in our lives, we come to the realization that we have broken all of God's commandments, just as Moses broke the original ones. Yet just as God fixed the problem for Moses by writing his commandments once again, instructing Moses where to place them for safekeeping, God does the same for us. When we allow God to live within us, his Holy Spirit writes his commandments on our hearts in the place where he resides. The significance of this is huge. You see, the most holy place was the place where God dwelled with man in the tabernacle. Do you know where God dwells with man now? What is his tabernacle today? You are. 1 Corinthians 6:19 through 20 says, "Do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you've received from God? You're not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore, glorify God with your body." So if you're the temple where God's Holy Spirit resides, then he dwells within your Holy of Holies. We call that your heart. There he has written his law upon your heart. Just as Moses broke the commandments, we also break them when we live in our own power. But with the Holy Spirit's power, we can keep the commandments and glorify God with our whole body. God promises that the Spirit of truth will be our advocate forever. Imagine having the ability to talk to God, your Creator, always and forever. You know, I have some great friends and family members, but I don't get to talk to them always. Sometimes they are far away from me. My daughter is in England right now, and I don't get to talk to her often. When I'm asleep, she's awake, and when I'm awake, she's asleep. But our God never sleeps or slumbers, and he has put in our hearts his Spirit to go with us always. No matter what happens, God goes with you, and he guides you and directs you and helps you know what you should do in every single situation. Sometimes we may not want to listen, but he still speaks to us. If we don't hear him, maybe we need to pick up his word and read it again to remind us what his voice sounds like so we can hear him more clearly. When you read his words in the Bible, his Spirit will help you understand those words. And this is how he writes his law in your heart. He helps you understand it.